Ryan slammed me against the wall, his hand gripping my waist tightly. My body was aflame, my mind screaming at me, but I couldn't pull away. Ryan was my brother-in-law. I know it's wrong, but tell me, haven't you ever felt that irresistible fire for something you shouldn't want? A desire so strong, so uncontrollable, it burns through every inch of you. His dark eyes burned into mine as he leaned in, breathing close to my neck. Every touch was a spark ready to ignite, and my mind struggled to stay rational. I knew this could destroy everything, but the thrill of being near him was irresistible. The heat between us was suffocating, a storm I couldn't stop. Every second felt more intense than the last, and I knew we were about to cross a line. He brushed his lips against my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. "You don't want to resist, Emily. I feel it in you," he murmured, his low voice making me tremble. My heart raced, my mind conflicted, and I wanted to run, but my body had a mind of its own. Every second in that moment was dangerous, yet impossible to ignore. I was trapped, and he knew exactly how to take control. A firmer touch on my waist made me shiver, and I felt every fiber of my body surrender to the forbidden. The world outside disappeared. It was just the two of us in that instant. Guilt burned in my throat, but desire spoke louder. I knew what we were about to do could ruin my life, yet my reason was already silent. Then he whispered something that made me stop breathing. "If anyone saw us right now, it would be the end," Ryan said, the tension in his voice making my heart freeze. But I wanted more, and he knew it. Danger and temptation were intertwined, impossible to separate. Every second with him was playing with fire, and I knew we were about to burn. But before I could react, someone knocked on the door. My body froze, my heart pounded, and I knew the worst was yet to come. The knock on the door still echoed in my mind as Ryan pulled back slightly, his eyes locked on me, as if he could read every forbidden thought. My heart wouldn't stop pounding, and my hands were trembling. Every breath seemed to carry the heat of the moment we had just shared. I knew the line had been crossed and that nothing would ever be the same again. Guilt and desire danced in my chest, leaving me feeling vulnerable and desperate. When I finally looked out, it was just the housekeeper bringing something, but my body was still buzzing from Ryan's touch. He slowly moved away, his dark eyes telling me this wouldn't be our last moment together. The tension between us was thick enough to cut with a knife, and even the distance didn't lessen the feeling of danger and longing. I tried to focus, but every thought kept returning to him, to that forbidden touch. Every move he made seemed etched in my memory, burning into my conscience. Later, as I walked down the silent hallway of the house, I heard footsteps behind me. Ryan was there, standing in the shadows, watching my every move. My skin prickled, a mix of fear and desire, and I knew I couldn't escape. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, making every second more intense. He slowly moved away, as if each step was both a warning and a challenge. "You can't forget me, Emily," he said, his voice low, teasing, almost suffocating. Every word he spoke pierced through me, making my mind spin between what was right and what was forbidden. I tried to pull away, but my feet felt glued to the floor, and my heart screamed that I wanted exactly this. The danger was exciting, addictive, and I knew we were heading towards something that could destroy everything. Every moment with him was a battle between desire and guilt. Before I could react, the door swung open quickly and someone walked in unannounced. Ryan stepped back and my body froze, feeling the tension explode in the air. My heart felt like it was about to leap out of my chest, and the adrenaline left me feeling dizzy. I knew our secret could be exposed at any moment. And in that instant, the feeling that scandal was about to erupt completely consumed me. The next day dawned with a suffocating weight upon me. Every time I encountered Ryan, it felt like a spark threatened to ignite everything. My husband, oblivious to what was happening, spoke of business and laughter, while my heart pounded for a secret that could destroy our family. I found myself avoiding his gaze, but Ryan always found a way to cross my path. With each accidental touch, my body remembered the forbidden, and I felt guilt and desire mixing into combustion. During lunch, I felt Ryan's gaze piercing across the room, burning my skin like a hot iron. I tried to focus on talking with my husband, but his every word seemed distant, drowned out by the heat I felt. Ryan subtly approached, lightly resting his hand on mine as he passed. My stomach churned, and I almost cried out in pleasure and horror at the same time. Danger was in every touch, and I knew we were approaching something irreversible. In the afternoon, when everyone had left the room, Ryan approached once more, his body casually yet deliberately pressing against mine. "You feel this too, don't you?" he murmured, his warm breath hitting me. I wanted to deny it, to scream, to run, but my body wouldn't respond. His every word, his every gesture was an invitation to the impossible, and my heart knew we were about to enter territory no one should cross. The tension was almost unbearable, and adrenaline burned in every fiber of my being. That night, the house was too quiet. I walked down the hall and felt Ryan emerge from the shadows, his deep gaze holding me captive. My skin shivered as I felt his hand touch my waist again. "We can't keep going like this, but I don't want to stop," he confessed, and my heart raced. His every word was an invisible thread pulling me into an abyss of pleasure and guilt, and I knew we were about to cross irreversible boundaries. Before I could react, we heard footsteps echoing down the hall. The shock made me pull back, and Ryan retreated too, his eyes filled with frustration and desire. The tension exploded, and I realized our secret was about to be exposed and that nothing would ever be safe again. My heart went cold, knowing that the next turn could destroy everything. The next day, the air in the house felt thick and heavy. My husband was excitedly talking about a business meeting, completely unaware of the storm brewing around him. I tried to act normal, but he seemed to be watching my every move. Ryan was nearby, his intense gaze following me, and my heart pounded with every glance we exchanged. The feeling that we were on the verge of being discovered burned within me like a fire. During breakfast, the maid accidentally dropped a tray, and Ryan stepped in to help, his body brushing against mine for a moment that felt like an eternity. My stomach churned, and a wave of heat washed over me. I knew any move could be noticed, but the attraction was irresistible. He gave me a suggestive smile, and I felt the danger and temptation growing with every second. The forbidden desire was about to become impossible to control. Later, as I was organizing documents in my husband's office, Ryan appeared at the doorway, feigning casualness. "You're nervous today," he said in a low, provocative tone. My mouth went dry and I couldn't respond. His every word pierced my mind, making my body burn with anticipation. I knew every touch, every look was bringing us closer to a moment that could destroy our family. The tension was electric and impossible to ignore. When my husband stepped out to take a call, Ryan moved closer, his hands lightly brushing my arm. The air seemed charged with danger and desire, and I couldn't look away. "We can't keep this up, but I can't stay away from you," he murmured, his voice husky and tempting. My body reacted on its own, trembling under the intensity of the moment. Every second was a battle between guilt and desire, and I knew we were about to explode into a scandal no one could have predicted. Suddenly, the door opened abruptly, and my husband returned earlier than we expected. Ryan pulled back, and I tried to disguise my rapid breathing, but I knew the scandal was about to begin, and there would be no escape from the approaching storm. The atmosphere at home was unbearable. Every look from my husband felt like it was cutting into my skin, while my heart still burned from Ryan's touch. Guilt was crushing me, but the memory of his closeness was impossible to ignore. Every move I made carried the tension of a secret about to explode, and I felt like everything could fall apart at any moment. The forbidden had never been so addictive and dangerous at the same time. During breakfast, my husband noticed something strange about my trembling hands. "Is everything okay?" he asked, suspicious. Before I could come up with an excuse, Ryan walked into the kitchen, smiling as if nothing was happening, but his eyes told a different story. My body shivered, reminding me of the warmth of his touch the night before. I knew that every encounter with him was a risk, and that we were on the verge of being discovered. Later, while my husband was busy with work calls, Ryan approached again. "We can't keep going like this," he murmured near my ear. His warm breath sent shivers down my spine. My body reacted on its own, trembling under the intensity of the moment. Every word he spoke was a temptation, every gesture a challenge to the limits of reason. Danger and desire mingled into a fire impossible to extinguish. Suddenly, we heard a noise from the living room. My husband returned earlier than we expected, and panic seized me. Ryan immediately backed away, trying to hide the tension he also felt. My heart raced, and I realized that the first crack in our secret was appearing, about to turn into an open scandal. When he left the room, Ryan gave me a look filled with frustration and a promise. "This is far from over," he said, and my body trembled. I knew we were on the brink of something that would change our lives forever. The escalating tension held us in a dangerous dance, and every moment with him was a risky gamble. That afternoon, I was alone in the living room when Ryan entered quietly, closing the door behind him. My heart leaped, and every part of my body felt the impact of his presence. "Emily," he murmured, his voice thick with desire. Before I could pull away, he closed the distance between us, and my body had no choice but to yield. The heat between us was impossible to ignore. He held me by the waist again, his touch firm and provocative. My mind screamed at me to stop, but my body reacted on its own. Every inch of his skin near mine seemed to burn with forbidden intensity. I knew we were playing with fire, but the attraction was greater than any sense of reason. The desire for the forbidden consumed my every thought. Suddenly, Ryan whispered something in my ear, and my whole body shivered. "Don't pretend you don't want this," he said, his voice rough and intense. Every word he spoke was an irresistible provocation. I tried to pull away, but he held my hand, pulling me closer, and I felt that scandal was about to erupt. The sense of danger grew, making everything even more thrilling. Before we could lose control, we heard footsteps in the hallway. My husband was coming back early, and panic hit me like an electric shock. Ryan pulled back, but his gaze still said it all. The tension, the desire, and the risk were impossible to ignore. I knew that this forbidden moment would leave marks that no one could erase. When the door closed behind my husband, Ryan moved closer again, his hands still trembling with restrained desire. "This is just the beginning," he murmured, and my body responded with a shiver that seemed to run through my very soul. I was lost between guilt and pleasure, and every second with him made it impossible to turn back. The next morning, my husband started watching me differently. Every smile of mine seemed filled with secrets, and the air between us grew heavy. Ryan wasn't far off, and the mere thought of his eyes on me made my body burn again. I knew every move I made could arouse suspicion, and the danger was drawing closer. During breakfast, he asked me a simple question, but it carried the weight of an investigation. "Have you been distracted lately?" My heart nearly leaped out of my chest. Ryan entered the kitchen with his usual calm demeanor, but his provocative gaze met mine. A jolt shot through my spine, reminding me how impossible it was to resist. Every second with him was a mix of pleasure and guilt, impossible to separate. Later, I tried to escape to the study, hoping to clear my head. Ryan followed me, and the touch of his hand on my arm made me tremble. "We can't pretend this isn't happening," he murmured, his face so close I could almost feel his breath. I knew every moment with him was a dangerous step toward scandal, and that we were about to cross an irreversible line. The phone rang, and the shock made me pull back, breaking the tension for a few seconds. But Ryan didn't move away. He just held my hand tighter. "You want this as much as I do," he said, with an intensity that left me speechless. The heat of the moment was almost unbearable, and every touch seemed to sear into my skin the memory of something forbidden. When my husband returned, Ryan disappeared with a barely perceptible smile. My body was still trembling, and my heart was racing. I knew suspicions were growing, that scandal was about to erupt, and that every moment together brought us closer to a turning point that would change everything. As the dinner was served that night, I felt my husband's eyes piercing my soul. Every move I made felt like a crime, and my heart pounded at the mere thought of Ryan. He didn't need to say anything. The silence was already heavy with tension. I knew danger was about to erupt, and we were on the brink of something that would change our lives forever. Ryan unexpectedly appeared in the living room, and my body reacted instantly. A shiver ran down my spine as he approached, almost imperceptibly. His every glance was a provocation, every smile an invitation that burned from within. I tried to control myself, but his presence was like an irresistible magnet. The scandal I feared was forming right before my eyes. My husband, noticing something, leaned in and casually asked, "Have you two been talking a lot lately?" His tone was light, but his eyes betrayed suspicion. Ryan just smiled, effortlessly provoking me, and my body betrayed my secret with a tremor. I knew that every second of interaction increased the tension, and that at any moment everything could fall apart. After dinner, I tried to escape to the garden, seeking a moment to breathe. Ryan followed me, and again our bodies met in silence, charged with forbidden desire. "It's impossible to escape this," he murmured, and my heart nearly stopped. Every touch was a reminder that we were walking the line of disaster, and that the temptation was as dangerous as it was irresistible. When we went back inside, my husband was waiting for us in the living room, seemingly calm, but with his eyes fixed on us. Every move I made was analyzed, every breath suspected. I knew his suspicions were about to explode and that there was no more room for error. The scandal was approaching rapidly, and the next step would determine who would be hurt in this battle of desire and betrayal. The air seemed charged that late afternoon. My husband entered the room with firm steps, his eyes full of suspicion. Every move I made betrayed the secret I was trying to hide. Ryan was there too, his presence intense, sending shivers down my spine that I couldn't control. The tension built, and I knew the scandal was about to explode in our faces. "Emily," my husband began, his voice low but steady, each word like a blow. Ryan didn't look away. He just met my gaze intently, his eyes saying more than words ever could. My body trembled, torn between fear and desire. Every inch of his touch felt like it was searing what shouldn't exist onto my skin. The moment of choice had finally arrived. Ryan took a step forward, and the air between us ignited. I could feel the mix of danger and attraction growing with every second. My husband watched, suspicious, and every move we made felt like an invitation to disaster. "Do you two have something to tell me?" The question hung in the air, sharp as a blade. I swallowed hard, unable to lie anymore. Before I could answer, Ryan moved closer to me, taking my hand, a gesture so simple yet so explosive. "We can't pretend anymore," he murmured, his lips almost touching mine.
My heart pounded, and I knew the forbidden was about to become impossible to contain. The scandal was closing in, ready to break through all the boundaries I believed were unbreakable. The silence was shattered by the sound of a glass falling, and the tension erupted. My husband took a step forward, his eyes filled with fury and pain, while Ryan stood his ground, defiant. I felt torn, caught between two men, between desire and loyalty. The room felt like a minefield, and I knew one wrong move could destroy everything.
The following morning arrived heavy with tension. My husband remained distant, his eyes cold and suspicious, while every gesture of mine was scrutinized as if I were a criminal. Ryan watched me with a faint smile, sending shivers down my spine that I couldn't control. I knew every step was a risk and that the storm was far from over. At breakfast, the tension was palpable. My husband gave me a burning, silent look, laden with unasked questions. Ryan sat nearby, the air between us charged with what had happened. An accidental touch of his hand sent waves of heat through my body, reminding me of the irresistible danger. The scandal was alive, pulsing with every second. Later, I tried to escape to the garden, hoping to clear my head. Ryan appeared silently, his eyes dark, his proximity almost unbearable. "You can't stay away from me, can you?" he murmured, and my heart pounded. Every moment with him left me more vulnerable, more entangled, and the guilt burned as intensely as the desire. Meanwhile, my husband tried to maintain his composure, but the signs were clear. Subtle questions, lingering glances, the heavy silence when we crossed paths. I knew that at any moment he would discover the truth, and the explosion would be devastating. Ryan seemed to savor the tension, each second a reminder of what we shouldn't have. When the afternoon arrived, an accident almost revealed everything. A careless comment, an intercepted glance, and I realized the flames of scandal were about to consume us all. My body and mind were at war, torn between loyalty and desire, as the certainty that nothing would ever be the same again grew. Chaos was near, and no one would emerge unscathed from this storm. The night hung heavy over the house, thick with unspoken tension. My husband sat in the living room, his gaze locked on me, the silence sharp as a blade. Ryan appeared near the fireplace, his eyes dark and challenging, and my body responded instinctively. I knew the moment of truth had finally arrived, and none of us would emerge unscathed. My husband finally spoke, his voice deep and laced with pain. "Emily, tell me the truth now." Each word felt like a blow to my chest, my throat burning with guilt. Ryan moved closer, his hand lightly brushing mine, a touch that only fanned the flames of forbidden desire. I felt torn between love, betrayal, and longing, unsure where to look. Then the tension snapped. Ryan moved too close, and my husband stood up furious as the air seemed to compress around us. Sharp words flew, accusations, shouts, secrets laid bare. My body trembled, not just from fear, but from the heat of the forbidden attraction I couldn't deny. The scandal had finally reached its peak, and nothing would ever be the same again. In an instant, Ryan took my hand and pulled me closer, his eyes almost pleading. My husband, stunned, watched the scene unfold, seemingly unable to react. I stood at the center of an emotional storm. Guilt, desire, love, and betrayal, all swirling in a chaotic, seemingly endless mess. Every touch, every glance, every breath carried the promise of devastating consequences. By the time the night ended, we were all changed. The wounds of betrayal and forbidden desire left deep scars, but also an unforgettable lesson. I realized that the forbidden comes at a price, that desire can be irresistible, but every choice carries consequences no one can escape. The scandal had burned everything down, but it also showed me the intensity of feeling truly alive, even at the most dangerous edges of the heart.